Hey there, thanks for tuning into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and coming up on this Tuesday, how the latest news around the NFL, especially inside the NFC East, impacts the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot happened in Week 6 as we pivot and shift gears to Week 7. A programming reminder, this is why you subscribe to the channel, because we're bringing you all types of content every single day year-round, talking all things Eagles all the time. Going to do a Week 7 preview tonight. Of course, barring any breaking news happening, you never know if Howie Roseman's going to make a trade, so be on the lookout for that. And this is why you turn on your notifications. Therefore, whenever we go live, whenever I push out a video, you will be notified. So up on the channel a little bit later, Eagles-Vikings preview. As you can see here to my right, we're 815 people away from 134,000 subscribers. Let's put a dent into that number right now and continue to grow the Eagles Now empire. So let's think back to Thursday night, into Friday, how we were all feeling, right? Disgusted, frustrated, pissed off, mad, angry, confused, all of those emotions apt for how we were feeling, right? Because that Thursday night football loss to the Giants was embarrassing. The Eagles took one to the chin, they were soft, and they got bullied on Amazon in front of the entire country, right? And here in Philadelphia, when you lose a game like that, and you look like that, when you don't play up to the standard of our expectations, when you don't even seemingly try, it feels like the sky is falling, especially when you lose to a team that's inferior, who's inside your division, who had all this youthful energy, and you just came out there flat, coming off the heels of giving up 18 fourth-quarter unanswered points against the Denver Broncos that previous Sunday. But one takeaway 6 weeks into the 2025 NFL season, there is not a great team in the National Football League right now. And this has shifted seemingly every single week, especially from quarter to quarter, right? And when I say that, the first quarter of the year, first 4 games, I know there's 17 games, but you get the idea, right? There has been such a constant fluid changing of who the top teams in the NFL are. And obviously, you don't want to peak early. You want to peak late. But this is why the NFL has a stranglehold on America. This is why the NFL is the ultimate drama. Why it's a television show and a reality show that in real time is so fascinating. Because year over year, so many things change. Week over week, so many things change. This is a league of parity, and in the blink of an eye, a team can go from looking like a championship contender to looking awful. I mean, shoot, both the Eagles and the Bills both started the year 4-0. They're looking like the cream of the crop in the NFL, and here we are just a couple of weeks later. Both teams are now 4-2. Both teams have had ugly back-to-back defeats. And specifically inside the NFC, you think about how fluid this conference has been to start the year. Early on, to begin the 2025 season, it was the Eagles and the Packers as the top teams in this conference. And it looked as though they were bound to meet in the NFC Championship game for the rights to play at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California for Super Bowl 60, right? Then after a Week 1 loss, the Lions entered the fray. They won 4 in a row before they kind of got their asses kicked against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. And then as the season has progressed, we've seen some of these other teams be in the mix and out of the mix. The Buccaneers looking pretty damn good right now. The Rams, couple of questionable losses, some solid wins. The Commanders, they just lost last night to the Chicago Bears when they turned the football over a lot, but they also had the whistle on their side and a chance to win that game late. Jaden Daniels fumble on the handoff. The San Francisco 49ers have looked pretty good, but they've now lost Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, and it's going to be hard to survive that for the rest of the year. So right now, who is the best team in the NFC? No idea. You think about the AFC. Who's the best team in the AFC? I think it's the Kansas City Chiefs. You can make the argument that right now, the Chiefs are playing like the best team in the NFL. And again, to start the year, nobody was saying that. I was saying the Chiefs are so talent deficient. It has to be the year for the Ravens, has to be the year for the Bills. Maybe the Chargers can take them down. And then here we are, middle of October, The Ravens have one win. The Bills can't stop anybody. And if they continue to play defensive football like that, they're not beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC playoffs. And so all of this is great news for the Eagles. It was looking like a collapse could happen. Maybe it still could, right? The Eagles right now are not playing well. There's no doubt about that. But this NFC right now is wide, wide open. And it is there for the taking. And I will take this Eagles coaching staff. I will take this Eagles pedigree. I will take how battle-tested the Eagles are and their talent over anybody in this conference. Get them on the field with anybody inside the NFC. You have to feel confident that at a win or go-home game, Philadelphia can be victorious. Now, let's pivot to inside the NFC East. The Giants in Week 6 and their fans, the biggest winners in this division after 6 weeks, or at least coming out of Week 6, right? Because the Giants are still 2-4 on the year. But how sweet it is, because the Eagles get dump trucked by the Giants, embarrassed on Thursday Night Football, and my mentions were a shit show, both on X, on Instagram, and just on X in general, right? Where these conversations and these debates were happening. Cowboys fans and Commanders fans were trying to take victory laps about the Eagles losing to the Giants. They were talking so much smack about how the Eagles lost that game in that fashion to New York. And then what happened a few days later? Cowboys go on the road. They lose to the Carolina Panthers. The Commanders at home, prime time, opportunity to tie the Eagles for first place in the NFC East. They lose to the Chicago Bears. And the NFC East standings right now. Eagles, despite back-to-back losses, still in sole possession of first place in this division. Commanders 3-3, Cowboys 2-3-1. Bunch of media members and fans who cover that team very closely calling the Cowboys frauds. And the Giants probably feeling the best about themselves among all teams in this division. And they're 2-4 right now. But they got a little strut as they walk through Manhattan in New York City this morning. The NFC standings. Look at how crazy and jumbled things are in this conference right now. These are the top 10 teams, and they're all within 1 or 2 games of one another, right? The Buccaneers 5-1. Eagles beat them. Packers 3-1-1, the number 2 seed. Eagles play them coming off of the bye. 49ers are 4-2. Kyle Shanahan's been coaching his tail off, but again, you lose Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, they have to make a move or moves by the time the NFL trade deadline comes around. Eagles are 4-2, 4 seed right now. Seahawks 4-2. The Lions 4-2. Rams 4-2. Eagles beat them. Falcons 3-2. They beat Buffalo for the biggest regular season win they've had in a couple of years. The Bears are 3-2. Eagles play them on Black Friday. Vikings are 3-2. Eagles play Minnesota this upcoming Sunday. So you think about the Eagles right now, they really control their own destiny. They're in a spot where they want to be. This is great news for Eagles fans out there. And those Commanders and Cowboys losses, huge for Philadelphia because of the manner that they lost with, some of the flaws that they showed, but obviously how it impacts the standings in the division and in the conference. Now, coming up next here on Philadelphia Eagles Now, we're going to continue this conversation. Do not go anywhere. And if you make it till the end of the video, I know that you're a real one. But let's get to our sponsor, our friends at PrizePicks. We appreciate them for making today's Philadelphia Eagles Now possible. It's the #1 fantasy sports app here in America. Pick, predict, play. Turn your takes into cash with PrizePicks, available all across the country, including now in Pennsylvania. And they have a couple of new features. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on PrizePicks. Follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. Let's go with the 3-pick power play for Sunday. A.J. Brown, more than 67.5 receiving yards. Will the Eagles offense find a consistent flow? Justin Jefferson, not sure if if Quinyon Mitchell's going to play. If he can't, Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson will get the start. Yeah, I'm going to take JJ, and that's with the Vikings having quarterback questions. More on the 74.5 receiving yards. And then Saquon Barkley, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. So here's the deal. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Now let's talk about the two teams inside the NFC East who lost. The Commanders to the Bears on Monday, and then on Sunday afternoon, the Dallas Cowboys falling on the road to the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are a team I did predict going into this year. I thought that they were going to be improved. I like Dave Canales. Bryce Young toward the end of last year played pretty well. We saw that with how the Panthers nearly beat the Eagles last year. That's another example of how crazy things can happen across the NFL. And this game, pretty crazy. Bears win 25-24. And so often over the last few years, these are the games that Chicago has found a way to lose. For them to win this game, it's huge for that new regime of Ben Johnson. It's huge for Caleb Williams because you know when things go awry, when things start to circle the toilet bowl, the body language isn't great on the sideline. And so this is really an uplifting win for him. And Caleb in that game, he didn't do anything crazy, missed some reads, made some nice throws, 17-29, 252 yards and a touchdown. Former Eagle DeAndre Swift went crazy against the Commanders. 14 carries, a $108 on the ground. He also had 67 receiving yards, including a 50-plus yard touchdown on third down. That was the touchdown that he had. Luther Burden, a rookie out of Mizzou, liked the selection. Solid game, 4 catches, 51 yards. But the whistle wasn't with Chicago. They had a touchdown called back. The Commanders were getting a lot of calls. And you know what's crazy? Last night, in the first half of that Bills-Falcons game, Josh Allen threw a pick in that first half. He barely threw for 100 yards. If that was Jalen Hurts who did that in the first half, Twitter would be going crazy. But with Josh Allen, everybody's always going to give him a pass. Going into the fourth quarter, Jaden Daniels had less than 100 passing yards. I think he was around 80 or 90, yet because he played well and he plays for the Commanders and he's a good story, he's not going to get that same chatter on social media. But I didn't think that he was great in this game. 19-26, 211 yards. He did throw 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, but had a crucial fumble on a third down, which we'll talk about here in a moment. Ja'Cory Bill Krosky-Merritt, 17 carries for 61. Chris Moore has kind of come out of nowhere to play well. 3 catches, 46 yards. The Commanders did lose the turnover battle. As I'm pulling up the numbers here, where is it? Let's see. They lost the turnover battle 3-0. So they still had an opportunity to win that game. One of those turnovers, though, it's a third down. It's right around midfield. They pick up the first down. It's most likely ball game. And the exchange between Jaden Daniels and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt was a bad one. Commanders fumble. Bears recover. And how about the story of Jake Moody, right? Awful for the Niners. He goes 4 of 5 last night. His one miss, a block on a low kick. He hits the game winner. I mean, that's the drama of the NFL, and you got to love it. And this is a big loss for Washington. This was a game they could have had. It would have moved them to 4-2. Now they're 3-3. Look at their upcoming schedule here. On the road against the Cowboys. Cowboys are desperate. On the road against the Chiefs. They're playing great. They host the Seahawks. Seahawks have been playing really good ball. They've now won 4 of 5 since their opening loss to San Francisco. Then they play the Lions, and they're on the road against the Dolphins. Sometimes the climate there can be difficult to play in. And last year, Washington won a handful of crazy, wild, close games. And as we've seen with the Eagles and the Chiefs to start the year, when they were so good last year at winning close games, and for the Eagles to start this year, that's not sustainable. And that can flip on its head very quickly. And those close wins can result in close losses. And Washington last night, they lose that close game. And they have a very difficult schedule coming up. If they're not careful, we could be looking at an 8 or 9 win team, and I warned you about the Commanders' potential regression going into this year. As for the Dallas Cowboys, they took an early lead on the Carolina Panthers. You want to talk about the Rico Dowdle revenge game. 30 carries, 183 rushing yards. He added 56 receiving yards and had a touchdown. Against his former team, he was unstoppable. Now, I will say Dak Prescott continues to play at a really high level, 25 at 34, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns. They couldn't really run it. Miles Sanders is also out for the year. The big story with Dallas, their defense, for real, one of the worst units in the NFL. And it's not just this game. All year, they have been horrendous. Bryce Young throws for 3 touchdowns. Tommy Tremble has a solid game at that tight end spot. And obviously, Rico Dowdle ran all over them. And for the Cowboys now, with their record being what it is, 2-3-1, host the Commanders, on the road against the Broncos, hard place to play, at home against the Cardinals. They played in all one-score games this year, so that game could go either way. Then they host the Raiders, and they play the Eagles at home. Then they play the Chiefs at home. They're on the road against the Lions. They host Minnesota. They host the Chargers. Then they're on the road to end the year against Washington and the Giants. That's a hard schedule right there. And then because we're talking about all teams inside this division, the Giants, at Broncos, at Eagles, home against the Niners, at Bears, home against the Packers, at Lions, at Patriots, home against the Commanders, home against the Vikings, at Raiders, home against the Cowboys. The Giants, despite them being bad last year, do have one of the hardest remaining schedules in the NFL. So they're feeling good about themselves right now, but they're kind of talent deficient. I think they'll be in a lot of games, but I don't think they're going to be a playoff team by any means. And then the Eagles. You win the Super Bowl, you're going to have a hard schedule, right? That's been the case all year, and it doesn't really let up. You're on the road against the Vikings, great defense, one of the hardest places to play across the NFL. You play the Giants again, second time in 3 weeks. Week 9 bye, come out of the bye, on the road against the Packers Monday Night Football. You host the Lions on Sunday Night Football. You're on the road against the Cowboys, against the Bears at home on Black Friday, on the road against the Chargers. Eagles fans are going to take over the joint on Monday night. Week 15, home against the Raiders. Then you have the Commanders 2 times in 3 weeks to end the year. One of those a Saturday game. Then you have the Bills in between that. So it's a really hard schedule, but the other teams inside the NFC East have hard schedules. And the NFC landscape right now, completely wide open. It is there for the taking for the Eagles. As down as you feel about this football team right now, there's a lot to feel good about. We've seen that the Eagles in years prior can fix their mistakes. They can fix their flaws. If they do that and they execute, they will be fine. Some positivity on this Tuesday, October 14th. Don't forget to give me a follow on X and Instagram. My X page has been popping off, so give me a follow over there. Just surpassed 18,000 followers on Instagram. I've reached about 8 million people over the last month. I'm giving you free content here, free content there. Don't miss out.